Chapter 1 discusses why teachers teach. Why do we get into the profession in the first place? Why do we stay in the profession? And then there's also a little bit of discussion about why teachers leave the profession. So some of the things that we will discuss in this chapter, or things that we'll look at, we'll be able to list your motives for becoming a teacher, explain the rewards that come with a career in teaching, describe several sources that expand your understanding of teaching itself, assess 2 different case studies of teacher motivations, recount views of others about teaching and teachers, and then state major reasons why teachers teach and the primary sources of satisfaction. So examine your own motives for going into teaching. Why is it that you want to be a teacher? If somebody were to ask you why you wanted to go into teaching or what you liked about teaching and why, then what would you tell them? Ask experienced teachers why they regret going into teaching, because not everybody who goes into the profession realizes that it's where they're supposed to be. Some end up leaving the profession for various reasons. So ask those people who have left the profession why they've left, and then compare your motives to others. And I know it's a little bit frowned upon to compare yourself to others, but you're not necessarily comparing yourself, but compare your motives. So that if your motive is the same as somebody else's and they're not happy in the profession, then you may need to reevaluate your desire to go into teaching, or really examine your motives a little further. So when asked why teachers join the profession, 68%, a majority of teachers said that it was to make a difference in students' lives. That's not everybody. There was a very small percentage who said they went into it for the earning potential. But anybody who studied teacher salaries knows that you're not going to get rich as a teacher, but there are other rewards. So why is it that you want to go into the profession? And then, like I said, examine your motives. We have intrinsic and extrinsic rewards for teaching. Some of the extrinsic rewards are definitely more public, like money, prestige, a little bit of power, the salaries and the benefits. Since you normally, or at least in Arkansas, it is state funded, so you do have good benefits as a teacher. The salary is favorable, but often not comparable to other professions or other occupations. You do get status. With that, it's going to vary by audience. And then power, again, is going to vary depending upon your audience. So it's not necessarily a reward, but it is part of teaching. And you do need to know that you do have the power to influence others. And you don't necessarily have the power to, change laws and things like that. And you don't have the same power as other occupations or other professions. But we do have the power to influence others. And sometimes that power is abused, and sometimes it's used for good. The work schedule is pretty good. Most teachers are on a 9-month schedule, so we get the summer off, except for professional development and then having to prepare for the next school year. But there are other breaks throughout the year too. Christmas break, Thanksgiving break, spring break, that teachers get that not other professions are going to get. When asked what profession provides the most benefit to society, most people answered that teachers do that, because without teachers, no other profession would even exist. So somebody has to teach other people how to do what they do, whether it is teaching doctors in medical school or teaching surgeons, rocket scientists, engineers. It doesn't matter what the profession is. They didn't get to that point without teachers. So, of course, with teachers, we have to appreciate what they contribute to society. The intrinsic rewards of teaching are a little bit different than the extrinsic. The internal psychic or spiritual satisfaction that you might receive from your work, such as accomplishment or enjoyment, that's the intrinsic reward. So it might be learning or watching students learn and grow and develop. Getting to see those aha moments from your students, or learning, watching them grow and become teachers themselves. But seeing them learn, grow, and develop as people, as learners, that's part of the reward of teaching. And then knowing that you are doing a social service, you are doing important work for the common good. We are helping our society become better and more educated. The stimulation and support from other teachers, how we interact with our colleagues, what we get from them, that collaboration and camaraderie, all of those things are intrinsic rewards. And then just the work of teaching, knowing that you are doing good, you're helping, and just the job itself is enjoyable. There are a lot of sources that you can use to learn about teaching, to learn about yourself as a teacher. One of those things is real encounters. It doesn't necessarily have to be your own experience. You can certainly live vicariously through other people. You can watch films, documentaries, television. You can talk to other teachers. But learning from other people's experiences is one way to learn about yourself as a teacher, to know what you would do in that situation or what you might do in a certain situation, how you might handle things different than another teacher has. But it's kind of just putting those scenarios in your pocket so that you have an idea of how you might handle them if they come up. And then getting guidance from other administrators, from other educators, just getting that advice and counsel is going to help. Latching on to somebody as a mentor when you first start teaching is huge. Or when you've decided to take the leap and you know you're going into education, then latch on to somebody and use them as a mentor. And think about how you would react in certain situations, what you want to do in your classroom, what you don't want to do in your classroom. And then, but those things, those bits of guidance and that advice and counsel is a tremendous help. Reflection is probably the number one tool that you can use to gain experience. You cannot be an effective teacher if you're not reflective. You constantly have to think about what you've done well, where you can improve, so that you keep doing those things that you're doing well, but that you make the changes that you need to make so that you can change the things that aren't as effective as they could be. So becoming a reflective practitioner, you have to think about what surprised you about what you observed or what was unexpected. What were the teacher's goals? What were your goals? What were the things that were achieved? If you had the same goals, what would you have done? How did students appear to be responding during the class? Were they all involved? Most of them, just a few. If there were just a few involved, then what could the teacher have done differently? If they were all involved, then what was that teacher doing to get them all engaged? And then what could have been improved? What, if anything, was different about these students from the way you and your classmates were at their age? It's typical. It's hard to remember how you were as a student. I remember very vividly how I was as a student in high school, but we often forget how we behaved in our own classrooms. And so we're a little bit appalled at the way students behave in ours. But really think about how you were at first grade, second grade, whatever grade it is that you're teaching or whatever grade it is that you're observing. Think about how you were at that age. Did you do those same things? What would you say to yourself to keep you from doing that? Or what would you say to yourself to get yourself engaged or to get yourself interested in the lesson? You often have to put yourself in those students' places so that you know how to get them interested in whatever it is that you're doing. So you want to be sure that you are aware of what other people say about teaching and teachers. So what does the public say? When we refer to public, we're talking about the people who pay taxes and who will often tout that they pay the teacher salaries because they pay taxes, and taxes are what funds our schools. So think about what the public opinion is. And unfortunately, sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not. But be mindful of that. Don't let it drive everything that you do. What do students think? Students are our main focus. They are who we are trying to get to succeed. So, do they appreciate what we're doing? Can something be done differently? What can I do in my classroom to make their education more successful? What can I do to make things more effective? What do administrators say about new teachers? Usually, new teachers are motivated and energetic and ready to just do everything that they can to help students succeed. And sometimes that is deflated by the overwhelming number of things that teachers have to do throughout the day, every year. And so the first year can be really tough, but it's important to keep that energy and motivation throughout the year. Whatever you have to do, if you have to journal, whatever it is. And then what do new teachers think? And you'll learn pretty quickly that really only those with a true sense of calling for education and teaching should be in the profession, because you will see people who are in it for the wrong reasons or who are burnt out and should probably shift careers. But the important thing is that you know why you are in education and that you evaluate your motivations and that you understand if you have a true calling for the profession. So one of the things that I think is a biggest misconception is that students don't understand the effect of teachers, or they don't appreciate the effect that teachers have on society or how we contribute to society. But as we can see from this chart, 32% are students, 32% of students said that teachers had the biggest contribution to society's well-being. So that tells us that we have underestimated what our students really believe about our effect on the rest of the world. So why do teachers teach? Some of them get into teaching for the perceptions of their schools, colleagues, and jobs. Some of them get into teaching for their most rewarding aspects of being a teacher. So we're looking at those intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. And some, it's just a personal sense of value as a teacher. So again, we looked at why teachers get into teaching, and 82% said it was to make a difference in students' lives. And so we know that most of the teachers who get into teaching care about what they do. They're passionate about education. They're passionate about making that difference. And they've gotten into it for the right reason. And not every teacher along the way, throughout their entire career, you'll have, it's just like any relationship that you have. Sometimes you feel more valued in your relationship than you do others. Teaching is no different. Sometimes you will feel more valued than you do others. It will depend upon the administration, the society around you, what's going on in our legislation. There are a lot of different things that will determine how valued you feel. Don't let that drive what you do in the classroom. Let the way that your students respond to you drive what you do in the classroom, and let that keep your passion alive for education. So hopefully you have an idea of why you have gone into education, why you have taken this leap and you want to start your career as an educator. But just keep in mind, keep learning about the profession, keep thinking about what you want to do as a teacher and why you're wanting to go into the profession in the first place.